Hello, and welcome to the Badhumanist look at Prot Warrior. In this video, I'm going to take a look at how the Prot Warrior currently is looking on the BfA beta. I'm going to be going through all of the passives and the abilities, talking about, of course, like their cooldowns, the utility that they have, walking through all the talents, the possible synergy, different types of builds. I'll be showing a little bit of the rotation, again on a dummy here, so I'm going to show you how some of the abilities look and how the rotation might feel. I'll then be talking about the stats, stat scaling, what stats might be good or bad. We obviously won't know the exact stat weights for any of these things, but I'll then move into my overall thoughts and again, kind of like a hope for the future, possible changes to help. So, as always, let's start with our passives. So we have Vanguard. This is, of course, your tanking passive. Increases your stamina by 30%, armor by 40% of your strength. So again, this is an interesting thing where again it increases your armor as a percentage of your strength. Again, this would mean that your armor will be scaling with your gear. As you get more and more strength, your armor will be scaling. I like that. Mastery is still critical block, so increases your chance to block by 8%, and then chance to critically block, which basically gains twice your block value, by another 50%. It also increases your attack power by 33.7%. I'll talk a bit about block and some of the current talk about decoupling the DR of block with armor later on in this video. Deep wounds, your devastate and revenge also cause a bleed damage over 15 seconds. Moving on to the abilities here, we have victory rush. So this strikes the target, causing a bunch of damage and healing you for 20% of your maximum health, but it's only usable within 20 seconds after you kill an enemy that yields experience or honor. So again, anytime you kill something, you can victory rush. That is very, very valuable in Mythic Plus. Again, any time where you're killing things pretty readily, having that 20% heal in that kind of environment is going to be very strong. Thunderclap, again, blasts all enemies within 8 yards for X damage, reduces their movement speed. Now, I have this talented, which is actually reducing the cooldown and increasing the damage. So again, the damage and the cooldown would be a bit different here. Oh, actually, I hadn't found that. Okay, so never mind. So that is the correct amount here. We have Taunt. Again, same old thing. Spell Reflection, 12-second cooldown. Raise your shield, reflecting spells cast on you. Reducing magical damage you take by 50%. Lasts for 5 seconds or until a spell is reflected. Shockwave, 30-second cooldown. Again, it's a frontal. Does a little bit of damage inside of the cone, but it stuns all enemies for within 10 yards for 2 seconds. Shield Wall, one of your major defensives here, reduces all damage you take by 40% for 8 seconds. So this is good against both physical and magic. Shield Slam is your major, hard-hitting ability here. So it slams a target with your shield, causing physical damage. Your Devastate, Thunderclap, and Revenge have a chance to reset the cooldown of Shield Slam. We have Shield Block. Raise your shield, blocking all melee attacks against you for 6 seconds. These blocks can be critical and increases your Shield Slam damage by 30% while it is active. 2 charges, 15-second cooldown is reduced by haste. You have Revenge, swing in a wide arc, dealing a bunch of damage to all enemies in front of you. Anytime you dodge or parry, you get a free Revenge afterwards. It does cost 30 rage, and again, it is a short cooldown reduced by haste. Rallying Cry, 3-minute cooldown. So again, it grants all party or raid members within 40 yards extra health for 10 seconds. So that can be very useful for surviving like a big hit ability. Pummel interrupts spellcasting. Last Stand, again, 3-minute cooldown, increases your maximum health by 30% for 15 seconds, and it instantly heals you for that amount. So however much your health goes up by, you then get healed by that amount as well. Intimidating Shout, so again, causes targets to cower, up to 5 additional enemies to flee. Again, this is oriented for 8 seconds. Intercept, this can be used for an enemy or for a friend. If it's at an enemy, it does damage and then roots them. If it's for a friend, it intercepts the next attack against them while the ally remains close to you. It does also generate 15 rage. You have Ignore Pain, costs 40 rage. This is very different than what Ignore Pain was in Legion. So you fight through the pain, ignoring half of the damage taken up to a certain damage prevented. So basically, you hit the ability and you'll gain your Ignore Pain, and you'll stay on you until you basically ignore that total damage prevented. So again, half of all damage taken. So again, if you get one hit and it's over, that damage quota, right, or it's over double, I should say, that damage quota, you still get the reduction. But once that damage has been prevented, your Ignored Pain kind of goes away. Heroic Throw, again, throws your weapon, generates high threat. Heroic Leap, as we all know this, it's our lovely leap. This is a talent. Devastate, direct strike, dealing just normal physical damage. Demoralizing Shout, right, so demoralizes all enemies, reducing the damage they deal to you by 20%. We have Berserker Rage, so again, removes and granting immunity to Fear Sap and any kind of incap effect. Battle Shouts, so this is again a raid buff, increases the attack power of all raid and party members within 100 yards by 10%. So again, it looks like all warriors are going to have this ability. Avatar, so this transforms you to a Colossus for 20 seconds. There you go, kind of makes you big. It increases your damage by 20% and removes all roots and snares. Okay, so now let's take a look here at our talents. So into the fray, you gain 3% haste for each enemy or ally within 10 yards, up to 15% haste. So again, it is an or case. So if you're just in a 5-man and you have other melee around you, you do gain the haste. So if any enemy or ally. So again, while this might at first look like, it's like kind of like, okay, multi-target. No, in a raid, you're going to have some melee around you. So even though they only have one enemy possibly, you will also probably, I would at least think you're going to have 4 melee DPS within 10 yards of you. And so therefore it basically can give you that 15% haste. So as long as you have those targets within 10 yards of you, you gain that extra haste. Again, it's 3% per target. Punish. Shield Slam deals 20% increased damage and reduces enemies' damage against you by 3% for 9 seconds. So again, it increases the damage of one of your bigger hitting abilities, as well as reduces the damage that enemies do against you by 3%. And again, you'll be shield slamming more than every 9 seconds, so it's basically a constant 3% reduction in damage. Last one is Impending Victory. So instantly attack the target, causing damage and healing you for 50% of your maximum health. Same thing as Victory Rush as far as its cooldown reset. So again, it seems to be a bit better for raiding, where again you're not going to be killing things as frequently. Again, in Mythic Plus, where you're killing things frequently, I don't really see the benefit in taking that over Victory Rush, because again you get less healing from it, and it has a rage cost. Now again, you can only use it once, and I believe there is an ICD on Victory Rush, but you're still going to be using it probably far more frequently than this here. And again, the rage cost I think also hurts it a little bit as well. So Impending Victory is definitely one that's trying to compete in that kind of raiding environment. And again, all of these really, I think, do a nice job of being good in both raiding and Mythic Plus. Again, every single one of them, because for Into the Fray, even let's say you're in a Mythic Plus and have no melee DPS, well, you're probably going to have a bunch of enemies around you, so that would still give you the 15%. In a raid where you're not going to have as many enemies, you have the allies. So very interesting way how that kind of goes back and forth. Punish, same idea. This is just a flat 3% damage. It scales well for AoE because again, the more targets you have hitting you, the more damage reduction you're getting from that. Shield Slam as well also does a good job of dealing damage. So again, increasing your damage is never a bad thing. And Impending Victory, again, while I definitely think it's a little bit weaker here in the Mythic Plus, because again, why would you want to replace Victory Rush? It does, I think, compete in the rating, as I think, okay, like this is something that I can take, give myself some healing. I will admit, and we'll talk about this later, but Warrior, as you would expect, is not great at self-sustain. It's far more better at smoothing damage income, but again, assuming, which is a good assumption, that you're going to have a healer around. The removal of the old Ignore Pain has really hurt their self-sustain. It used to be able they could basically get a huge Ignore Pain and kind of take care of themselves for a while. That's no longer going to be the case. Ignore Pain's still strong, not nearly as strong, but they do a great job of reducing the kind of and smoothing of the damage income. So this again gives you a little bit of healing ability on a somewhat regular basis, again every about 30 seconds or so. And again, in a Mythic Plus, Victory Rush definitely does. 30 row, we have Crackling Thunder. That just increases the radius of Thunderclap by 50%. So again, giving you a bigger radius on your Thunderclap there. Bounding Strike reduces the cooldown of Heroic Leap, and Heroic Leap now also increases your run speed by 70%. So again, if I were to Heroic Leap, I can also now move quickly. Have fun. Safeguard, so intercepting a friend target now also causes 30% of the damage taken, their damage I should say, taken to transfer to you. So again, very good for like saving a healer or something like that, or again, if there's like a charge ability in Mythic Plus we've seen before, you can use this to kind of help keep your group members alive. Very, very valuable. 45 row, Best Served Cold. So Revenge deals 5% more damage per target hit up to 25%. So again, gives you a passive 5% damage increase on a single target, scaling up depending on the number of targets. Again, this is a wide arc ability, so it's a pretty like almost like a 180-degree-esque arc there. Unstoppable Force, so Avatar increases the damage of Thunderclap by 100% and reduces its cooldown by 50%. So while Avatar, again, is active for those 20 seconds, you basically get to do double the damage with Thunderclap, and again, instead of being a 5-second cooldown, it would be like a 2.5 or so. Again, that would be slightly different because of the haste value, but you get the point. Next down here is Dragon Roar. So this is a 35-second cooldown. So Roar, explosively dealing a bunch of physical damage to all enemies. Again, I can show that off a bit here. Don't look at the damage here because this is the morale booster, but looks like that. Do a bunch of damage to all enemies within 12 yards and reducing their movement speed for 6 seconds. It does generate 10 rage as well. So again, very good AoE. You can see all of these are basically AoE talents. They all have some viability, I would admit, in single target, because again, even single target, you're going to be thunderclapping for, again, the resets on Shield Slam and for the rage generation. And so, yeah, I think all three of these, again, are things that are going to have some value in a single target, more rating environment, as well as value, of course, in the Mythic Plus AoE scene. 60, you have Indomitable, increasing your maximum health by 10%, just a flat 10% increase in health. That, of course, will scale as our stamina scales. Never Surrender, so this gives you some of that power back into Ignore Pain. So it says Ignore Pain will prevent up to 100% more damage. So again, that means, if I go back to Ignore Pain, it currently ignores half the damage taken. So another 100% would be up to 100% of all damage taken, based on your missing health. The issue here, again, is that it still has that cap of total damage prevented, which again is a bit of a bummer there, but this again does allow you to get some of that ability back, and again, it makes it stronger the lower health you have. So again, it has to do with your missing health. So the more health you have missing, the stronger your Ignore Pain comes. The idea there being that your Ignore Pain will be able to absorb more damage, hopefully giving your healers enough time to get you back up. But again, there's no getting yourself back up for the most part. Again, unless you're going to use a Last Stand, there's no real easy way to kind of heal yourself. Other than that, or of course, if you take Impending Victory, but again, relatively small percent of your health pool and a 30-second cooldown. So this kind of helps with that sustain, helps the ability to kind of stay alive long enough to let your healers get you back up. Bolster, speaking of Last Stand, its cooldown will be reduced by a minute, and additionally causes you to block all melee attacks. So that makes Last Stand a very, very powerful cooldown. It'll be a 2-minute cooldown, increases your health, heals you, as well as for those, again, 15 seconds, also causing you to block all melee attacks. So again, you get that nice damage reduction on all those melee attacks. I believe that it can critically block as well. I'm not 100% confident of that. I wasn't able to kind of really check in the logs for that, but my assumption is going to be that it could hypothetically critically block those melees as well. 75, we have Menace. Intimidating Shout disorients enemies for an additional 4 seconds, and it causes all enemies to cower in fear instead of fleeing. Rumbling Earth, when Shockwave strikes at least 3 targets, its cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds. And then Stormbolt hurls your weapon at an enemy, causing damage and stunning for 4 seconds. So this one again is a kind of like just a 4-second stun single target that has a range to it. This one, of course, helps you get your shockwave a little bit lower. Um, Again, making a 20-second cooldown for the 2-second stun on multi-targets, might I add. And again, maintenance here has to do with your intimidating shout. I don't know if I actually even have on my bar. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So again, intimidating shout again it helps boost that there. And again, it gets rid of that fleeing part, which again, while it is technically a CC, no one wants ads running around pulling new ads. So again, definitely value there. 90, booming voice, demoralizing shout also generates 40 rage and increases the damage you deal to the affected targets by 50%. Again, demoralizing shout is an AoE, so it's all targets within 10 yards. So again, this will not only generate 40 rage, which is basically enough rage for ignore pain or a shield block, but it also then again increases your damage to all those targets. So again, really allowing you to up that damage will be better for AoE, but still has value single target. Vengeance, so again, ignore pain reduces the rage cost of your next revenge by a third, and then revenge reduces the rage cost of your next ignore pain by a third. So again, the idea here is you can use your free revenges that you're getting to help reduce the rage cost of your next ignore pain, again allowing you to use more ignore pains. And then when you use ignore pain, it helps reduce the cost of your next revenge. So again, the idea being that you can revenge more often if you need to. But again, there is that competition for rage among these abilities here. So again, revenge, shield block, and ignore pain are all rage spenders. And as such, again, you're going to kind of be competing. They are basically competing with each other, I guess you could say, for rage. Devastator, so this basically replaces the Devastate, just basic, spammable melee ability. So your auto attacks deal an additional damage and have a 20% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Shield Slam. Now again, normally with Shield Slam, Devastate is one of the abilities that resets it. This just basically makes it your melee. So again, it's very similar to what we've kind of seen with some of the other tanks, where it takes out that relatively boring builder, just makes it base into melee. This can be nice. It just won't put in a hit if you're somebody who, if they were to balance it properly, and again, the question is going to come more to, is it worth taking over these talents? But this talent on its own, if you kind of ignore it in the context of the other talents in the row, can definitely simplify things, right? So you don't have to worry about Devastate anymore. You're just basically worrying about your free revenges, and then again, worrying about your shield slams and your range spenders. Of course, Thunderclap as well. So yeah, I think that again, it has its place to basically kind of help simplify things. Again, as a tank, you could be trying to deal with other things, and so I think having a bit simpler, quote-unquote, DPS or threat rotation isn't a bad thing. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it's a bad thing at all to have tanks have the option of, hey, if you're just new at this and you don't have to worry about juggling all these plates, here, take away a plate. You still get your ability to reset Shield Slam. You still get the extra damage. You're not going to be losing any damage, hopefully. And again, just now worry about the other abilities you have left over. 100 row here, we have Anger Management. So again, every 10 rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on Avatar, Last Stand, Shield Wall, and Demoralizing Shout. So again, you get Demoralizing Shout, you get Last Stand, you get Avatar, and Shield Wall. So Avatar, and again, Shield Wall. So all your major cooldowns are reduced for every 10 rage you spend. So again, that would basically be, without in reduction, 4 seconds with Ignore Pain, 3 seconds per shield block, and again 3 seconds per revenge. Heavy repercussions, passive, so Shield Slam extends the duration of shield block by 1 second, and shield block increases the damage of shield slam by additional 30%. So again, you have some kind of synergy here between your shield block, which is kind of your active mitigation, if you will, and then your shield slam. So again, these two things can go together. When you shield block, you can use this to extend the duration. Again, it's already at a 6-second duration. So again, if you get lucky and get 2, maybe 3 shield slams off, you can move this from a 6-second to again like a 8 or 9-second, really helping that uptime of this debuff. And again, it is a multiple charge system. So again, you can definitely use that to your advantage to kind of keep uptime relatively high on that active mitigation. Ravager throws a whirling weapon at the target location, then inflicts 672 damage to all enemies within 8 yards over 5.8 seconds. It also increases your parry chance by 35% for 12 seconds. So again, it is both kind of like an AoE ability that, again, I'll actually kind of show it off here, that allows you to... So again, you get to place where it goes. So you can say, okay, here's the pack of mobs that I'm going to be attacking or whatever, so go, and then there you go. It throws the weapon around, deals a bunch of damage to all enemies within that area, and then of course also increases your parry chance by 35%. Very nice. I actually really like the targetable ability of that. Alright. So that is the Prot Warrior. So, again, I'm not going to last too long here because, again, I don't have too much self-survive, but I'm going to, again, try to show you a sense of what the rotation is going to feel like here. So let's actually just keep that for now. Let's go here, there. Okay, so I'm gonna wait till this comes up cooldown to change this talent around. Okay. Alright, so let's get going in here. So again, your rage generators are going to primarily be, again, your Thunderclap, your Devastate, and your Shield Slam are your two main ones here, and you have a couple other ones as well. There we go. So let me kind of like heal myself back up now. But you can see here how the idea is going to be you're going to devastate to kind of just build up whenever you have nothing else to do. When you have the free revenge, you'll use your free revenge. In general, again, it's just single target tanking. You're not going to, of course, be attempting to kind of do more AoE damage. So there's no need to spend your rage there. So your rage is just going to be spent on, again, ignore pains and your shield blocks here. So again, ignore pain allows you to ignore some incoming damage, whereas the shield block, of course, allows you to block more. They both have different kind of effects here. I do think that ignore pain, again, tends to have a bit more value, a little bit lower on the health pool, again, because it allows you to kind of live a little bit longer to allow your healers to kind of heal you back up. You can have the Moralizing Shout, of course, to reduce all the damage that they do to you. You have Last Stand here, as you can see, to kind of heal you back up. You have the ability, of course, to spell Reflect, to reflect the spells. Shield Wall, again, is just a general ability to reduce damage. So there we go, let's do those two. But that's, again, the basic idea here. And then I will actually kind of die here, which is fine. There we go. So again, while you don't have the ability to kind of stay alive on your own, like the Demon Hunter or the Death Knight that I've checked out so far, I'm not too worried about that, right? Again, I was able to live for about a minute on my own, which I think, honestly, for Warrior is pretty impressive, in all honesty. Again, without having really any kind of sense of your own self-heal, the ability to keep yourself alive for that long is pretty surprising. Again, primarily with using things like Ignore Pain. Again, you can expect to in the Impending Victory to get yourself a little bit of a heal every once in a while. But in general, just the ability to reduce the damage, the ability to kind of block everything with Last Stand, and with things like, Shield Wall, reducing damage, and your block in general, I think really does allow for this nice kind of steady income, or steady, amounts of damage here. And again, the one thing that I noticed was it was not unsurprising for me to be sitting at 10,000 health or 8,000 health on the Death Knight and Demon Hunter, and then just die. Right, like I'd be waiting for an ability to come back up, saying, okay, I can last a little bit longer, and then bam, I get whacked with a huge hit. Here, if you look here again at my damage here, now again, he wasn't as buffed up as he could have been. The damage wasn't too high, right? I was sitting at 151 health there. I was sitting at 303 health before. And that's the nice thing about Warrior, is that, again, that the damage you're taking consistently is relatively low. I'm sure that if I didn't heal myself with things like Death Knight or Demon Hunter, I'd be dead in like 30 seconds. So again, I don't think it's a fair comparison to be comparing how long I can survive from something like Warrior or something like Demon Hunter or Death Knight that are more about healing yourself. But I'm still quite impressed with, again, the overall utility and the overall ability to really smooth that damage out. Again, on live I play a healer, and I definitely appreciate when if my tanks can't self-sustain, that at least they allow me to not be worried about them every second, right? To be able to kind of throw a hot on them, to throw a couple of heals on them, and know they're not going to die in the next hit. So yeah, so that is Warrior. Also, one thing I will say, however, that might be a disadvantage is in a pure raid environment, on a just pure single target, they really do have to choose between a damage rotation and a survivability rotation. So because Revenge competes with Rage here, and again, your talent choices also can kind of have an effect on this as well. But I was able to get very competitive damage with Warrior to the other tanks that I've tested, but it did require me to kind of sacrifice spending some Rage on some of my survivability. And it's definitely a class where if you're just focusing on your survivability, your damage will go down. Whereas part of the survivability for something like a Death Knight, for example, is DPS. There's very little difference between a survival rotation and a DPS rotation. So they have much more consistent damage across the board there. Now, AoE wise, I definitely think Warrior is very, very strong on the AoE damage front, especially with the ability to talent into the number of talents we saw, things like Dragon Roar. Again, the fact that Revenge is a baked-in kind of AoE ability. Again, the ability to kind of spec into Demoralizing Shout, being able to increase your damage to those targets, your ability to talent into something like Ravager, if you're not as worried about survivability as the other two talents would give you. So yeah, I definitely think that Warrior in Mythic Plus is going to be really strong. Again, the ability in Mythic Plus to Victory Rush more often, the ability to actually have a heal, and again, that's a strong heal. Even if this thing could have a 5-10 second ICD, and it'd still be super strong, in all honesty. So I definitely think that the Prot Warrior is going to be a very, very competitive tank in that Mythic Plus arena. In the raiding environment, I'm not as worried about them there either. I think the fact that when you have a healing team around you, they're going to need to know that, yes, unlike the Death Knight or the Demon Hunter that might be able to heal themselves more often than not, yes, you are going to need a healer on the Warrior, but you're never going to worry about that Warrior dying from 30% health, right? That Warrior is going to be able to survive down to 10%, 5% health before you have to really worry about them getting one shot. And again, they have all the tools they need to help keep themselves alive in that sense. They don't have the ability to regain any health for the most part, at least not readily, like you can with a Demon Hunter or a Death Knight. So talking a bit about stats, again, I mentioned how, again, a key part, obviously, of the Warrior and, again, the Paladin that I'll be looking at later is block. So again, blocking adds additional armor against an attack, increasing physical damage reduction to whatever. And again, don't worry about that number there. So basically, again, it just adds armor. If I click a target, it'll show me, right? So again, against that target, I had about 44% armor. So his physical attacks are reduced by about 44%, and block adds additional armor. So again, blocking adds 1280. I only have 1514. So you can see blocking ability increases that by that much more. So again, critical block, as we said, doubles this armor ability up. Now, the issue is currently the armor plus block, basically damage reduction amount, DRs together. So if, for example, I were to just kind of add this, block on to that armor, I'm incurring the DR. And so it doesn't truly add together. It's not like you can just add your armor and your block, and that is your reduction. So currently, it basically DRs together. So if you have more armor, you basically DR your block quicker. And if you have a lot of block, you DR your armor quicker. So they are talking about separating that. They're talking about basically having the armor and block DR separately, basically allowing them to be stronger together. And if that happens, that would be very, very, very strong for Warrior. Again, obviously Paladin as well. Now you can see here that again you almost have no dodge at all, and again there's no real way of getting dodge here. Again, because again Agi gives you flat dodge, but you're not going to be getting Agi as a plate wearer. So again you will be getting strength, which again does increase your parry. So again parry is going to be much more of the avoidance stat here for warriors. Again had a decent amount. Again it's just a one tank character. Again if I were to have talented into Ravager, I get another 35% on top of that as well. So again, very strong, and again, you're going to get that parry from your stamina. So as far as again stats are concerned here, from the survivability side, again, things such as your armor is going to be very, very strong. Most of Warrior is all about reducing incoming damage. It's not about avoiding damage, it's not about healing up from damage, it's about simply taking as little damage as possible at every moment in time to allow your healers to not have to use a bunch of mana to heal you back up. Again, as a healer, I hate healing, basically mana sponges that just have a lot of health pool and it requires a bunch of heals until them getting back up. So the fact that warrior can kind of keep themselves alive for a while will allow me to use efficient heals to keep the warrior up at top health and not need to worry about basically their damage intake going faster than when I can heal them. As far as the other stats are concerned, again, crit does increase parry. Now, again, so does strength, so I'm not quite sure if that's going to help as much. Again, because critical block is somewhat separate from crit strike, and there's no healing element, I don't know if crit's going to have much value. Haste definitely is going to, again, you have a number of abilities that are reduced by haste, so that's definitely going to help out. Again, you have things like Thunderclap, you have things like Shield Slam, you have things like Revenge, all of which again are reduced by haste, and again they're also all your rage generation. So effectively, the more haste you have, the more rage you generate. Versatility is of course an amazing stat for any tank. Again, anytime you can just decrease the damage you're taking, that's going to be very valuable. It also does increase the damage and healing that you do. Again, not much healing can be done here. Increasing your damage, of course, is going to be valuable. And then mastery, again, definitely going to be an important stat here. Again, it's going to be interesting to see with the ways that block and armor and how the DRs are going to be separate, if that will have any effect on the value of mastery. If basically maybe by reducing the amount of DR that basically happens between those two, that it actually then weakens the critical block. I don't know, but again, it's a possibility. I definitely think, however, that mastery currently is going to be a very strong stat for the prot warrior, because the ability to basically double your block value and that the chance of increasing that to get critical blocks is very, very, very important. All right. So that there is the prot warrior. So overall thoughts, like I've already said, I'm actually, again, quite fond of this. I think that utility that they bring with things like the Battle Shout and Rallying Cry, which again cannot be ignored as a raid utility, as well as their, I think they're going to be super strong in Mythic Plus. I think they're going to have all the tools you would ever imagine in Mythic Plus, with the ability to stun AoE, the ability to, again, really kind of crowd control, have good AoE threat, the ability to heal themselves up, the ability to do good AoE damage, and to really kind of spec into that, to really kind of help them out there, is going to be a very, very strong tank for that. Again, the block is going to help there. You only have one healer, so again, helping that healer out, keep you alive, very important. In the raid environment, I think again that they might struggle a little bit. I have a feeling they're not going to be as strong as they were at the beginning of Legion, for example. Again, I just think that Ignore Pain is not where you need to be to see that kind of level of strength again. But again, they still bring good utility. They still bring what you would want them to bring. And again, even though they're not able to self-sustain for as long, they're not going to need to. Again, they're going to basically help your healers out in their own way, which again is by basically reducing the amount of damage they're taking at any one moment in time. And when you have a raid of 4 healers, I'm not too worried about that. I think that warrior will be just as survivable as the other 2 healers that I've looked at so far. Maybe slightly less. Again, they're definitely going to require some healing, unlike the other tanks, which could hypothetically require like almost no healing. So we'll have to wait and kind of see, of course. So hopes for the future. The only thing that I can really say as far as my play with Prot Warrior is some kind of tuning with shield block and ignore pain rage. Um, I'm sure it's just me being a bad player, but the balance of spending rage between these two is one that I'm kind of interested in what Blizzard has in mind. Where do they see these two talents and abilities, and where do they see the rage spent distribution going? I'm actually going to be quite curious about. Um, so that's definitely something that I maybe would be thinking about a little bit. Is just, do they expect us to basically favor one or the other? Do they expect us to again be keeping just shield block up and then maybe ignoring painting only at lower health levels? Um, I am a bit curious as far as how they see these two, because in the past, again, ignore pain was so strong it made sense to use. And you have to use it for a while, right? You could use ignore pain and not have to worry about keeping it up all the time. Um, whereas now, ignore pain is going to be gone a lot quicker. So again, managing between these two, I think, is definitely something where we might have to kind of wait and see how that turns out. But other than that, I was very impressed. Hopefully you liked this video. If you liked it, please like it. If you disliked it, please dislike it. If you have any comments or thoughts, again, any of you Prot Warrior mains out there, please leave your comments down below. Tell me what I got wrong. Tell me what abilities and talents you think are going to be great or not great. Coming up next, again, if you want to see more content like this, you can of course subscribe to the channel. I'll be finishing out the two other warrior specs, Fury and then Arms. I'm trying to wait for the complete Arms changes to come through before doing that video. After that, I'll probably, I don't know actually, I'll probably be doing either Monk or Paladin as the next class after Warrior. We'll have to kind of wait and see which one I want to do at that point in time. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in my future videos.